Okay, so what we have here is a black E60 and a black E39. And these are the channel project cars, as you will. So this car doesn't have the lower grills and fog lights in it. You probably can't even see it on the video, but somebody had pointed out, so I thought I'd just mention that. I would say the differences between these two cars depends on which one you have. So on the E60, you know, up to 2005, early 2006, you could get it with the older engine that the E39 has, but this has the newer engine. So as far as looks go, and this video is primarily about looks, you can see between the two, the E39 is, I mean, it's somewhat dated. You don't really notice that too much until they're side by side. This one looks probably a lot newer since the wheels that are on it. If it had the dated 525 wheels, it would be a lot different looking car. And this has the newer painted trim on it. A lot of features that make it a little newer. The tail lights are the facelift model tail lights, and even the headlights are the facelift model headlights. And overall, you know, like this car's not the cleanest, but on video wise, it'd probably be okay. We put the aftermarket AC Schnitzer wing on it. You can see a lot of differences in the tail. Well, the tail lights are a lot more sloped than this. E39 is pretty much just more of a square tail light. A lot more rounded car here, a lot more rounded looking chassis, and you know, the overall, the doors are a lot taller. The inside space is quite a bit more, and you know, just everything's a lot different. And these are LCI headlights, you can see there. So it does have the clear corners, and you know, there is a lot of differences. The front bumper is dramatically different, and you can see here on the E39, the grills are mounted in the hood, and on the E60, the grills are mounted in the bumper, and the hood breaks here and opens like a normal hood, versus E39, the hood actually goes all the way down, of course, up under there. So as far as the E39s go, the inside is dated. This car has not been cleaned yet. We have to take all the seats out and strip it and clean it like we did the E60. You can see, you know, this has the M steering wheel. It looks okay, I guess. The dash is dated. There's no navigation, no iDrive, of course. The seats, if you have any kind of tan seats that are older, they look slightly dingy. Some of that'll come out, some of it won't. It's just overall a lot more dated car. As far as the E60 goes, the seats are pretty much identical except for the bolster on the side here, the trim for the controls. And of course we have on this one iDrive. The cup holders are different, the dash is different. The whole dash is a lot more curved. That helps it a lot. You know, the iDrive controls make it look newer, and you know, overall the steering wheel is not really that much different than the E60. I mean, it's kind of the same a little bit, I would say. Door panels, they're a little more rounded. They're actually bigger than the E39 is. So I'm just overall a newer looking car. All right, so as far as the engine goes, this is the M54, the older double vanless engine, and you can see here, I mean, overall, let's be honest, this engine actually is a little bit more difficult to work on a lot of things. They actually improved a lot on the M52. Some things are, some things aren't. The parts of this engine are tremendously cheaper. That's the biggest difference, really. The water pump's mechanical. It's like 50 bucks for a legit OEM one. You know, the thermostat's way cheaper. This one has one disc valve. The valve cover is a lot more expensive on these, and they do crack just as often. And you know, there's a lot of variance to it. A whole used engine for this car, and this is actually from an E60, from a pre-2006 E60. I think I paid $600 for it, and when I did the engine in this one, I paid $700 for it. And this actually has the wrong cover on it, just in case anybody's gonna ask, because I know they will. The engine's about the same price, you know, really. So this now has 2 discs, has a triple stage manifold on it. We'll have that tune done coming up pretty shortly. Expansion tank, about the same price. You have the same oil filter housing type leaking situation. That's all the same price. What really makes this engine more expensive is the water pump, the electric water pump. And the valve cover on this one's like $100 for the whole valve cover with the PVC built in. The valve cover on that car is like $350. If you really get a really good deal, $300. So there's a lot of difference on that. This is magnesium block with aluminum head. That is aluminum block with aluminum head. And the reason why they went to magnesium, 2 reasons: it's lighter, and this car, that engine has an issue with pulling the threads out of the block if the engine overheats. On this engine, if it overheats, it just breaks the aluminum bolts. You can just replace them. But when your new engine's only $700, there's not really a lot of reason to go through all that hassle. You can just go ahead and replace the whole engine for that price. Neither one of these cars is grotesquely expensive to maintain if you do it yourself. A lot of you guys ask me all the time, E60 or E39. Maybe this video will help you out a little bit. I mean, you know, as far as control arms, this thing's all-wheel drive, so it has a disadvantage on cost to start with. If this was 2-wheel drive, the front control arm kits are about the same price for either car. Uses virtually the same drive shaft, carrier bearing, the same guibo. The transmissions are about the same price for the 5 HP 19 ZF box or the 6 HP ZF box. You know, virtually the same price. They have some of the same issues. The 6 HP and the E60, when you do the fluid, you should replace the sleeves. On the older style 5 HP 19, you don't have to. As far as removing engines, that car was way easier to take the engine out, and it's 4-wheel drive. Granted, being 4-wheel drive, you gotta take the wheels off, take the CV axles out, but the bolts, the biggest thing nobody really understands, when you have aluminum bolts that hold the bell housing together, you can literally go back there with a ratchet wrench and everything's just snug tight. And these have an issue with the upper rear bolt right up in there, the bell housing bolt, of stripping out or breaking, and then it's a huge mess. And luckily this one, we didn't have that issue. I think somebody may have had this apart before because it came apart pretty easily. You know, on this car, the fan shroud's not in it. You should run these without a fan shroud. Need to mount up the HID lights and assemble our front bumper. Like I said before, we don't have the front grills and fog lights. I have all new stuff for that, I just haven't put it in yet. E39 also is notorious for the fan not working. Has a real poor fan system that probably will get you, and usually leads to overheating them and blowing them up. They fixed that on this car. On this car, the fan is no longer in the front, it's actually right there, and a lot easier to get to. You don't have to take the bumper off to get it out. This car, you got to take the bumper off to get it out, but not this one, because we took the plastic guard off, so I could just take it out no problem right now without taking the bumper off. They both have headlight fogging problems. This one, I used the Restore stuff on and it fixed it. Actually, that Meguiar's Restore kit that has a clear coat in it, I'll put a link in the description. We'll put an Amazon affiliate link in there. That kit was $22. It took it from garbage, faded out yellow, to that, and they're even dirty right now. They look hazier than what they are, but they're almost perfectly clear. And I'll put a link down there for you guys. This one had one of the headlights fell apart on the inside. We had to replace them, and since we replaced them, we have condensation in the eyebrows. Even though these headlights are terrible, these headlights are even freaking worse. Horrible, horrifying situation. So that's pretty much it. They did fix one other thing, the ABS control module. They fixed that on the E60. On the E39, actually this one's needs to be replaced, needs to be sent off and rebuilt. It's like $100, but all these E39s had an issue with that control module going bad, the heat from the exhaust. This car does have stainless steel headers on it, but I think we're gonna go ahead and sell this car. I think it's time for this car to move on. Maybe we'll find something like an F10 or something. Has one little scratch on the back door, and that's pretty much it. So depends on who buys this car. I might leave the headers on it, or I might take them off, put the factory manifolds back on. Somebody lives in the city and then you get smogged, they're not going to want catless headers on it. So we'll see. That's the current situation. Hopefully you guys understand now, and even the brakes are all about the same price. There's not a lot of difference. It all depends on what you like and what you want. And really, if you want the newer car, if you want the newer look, you can still get the older engine in it. Is it better? I think the newer one's better, to be honest with you. A little more expensive water pump, $225 water pump versus a $50 water pump. That's about the biggest price difference. That's gonna be it, guys. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed the video. We'll be back tomorrow with another one.